Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
Sound the alarm.
While everybody went to go see Mordecai and the Boy Next Door and practically crapped all over them, there was one other movie that came out that week that people just weren't taking the time to go see. And maybe that was because of the fact that critics were not saying great things about it, and that is Strange Magic, a George Lucas produced CGI animated musical. My brain had a mini stroke, just because it was trying to wrap itself around the concept. While we all know that George Lucas is well known for fantasy, Star Wars anybody? He's never done something like this before. Even with all of the people saying how bad this movie was, I still, based on the trailers, felt that there may in fact be something here worthwhile. So, while everybody else didn't, I saw Strange Magic. It's not bad. It's not great. It's okay at best. It had its highs and it had its lows, so we'll go through the highs first. Probably the thing that blew my mind was the CGI animation. This was some of the most incredible work I have ever seen when it comes to any movie that uses computer graphics for animated design. Maybe the characters looked CGI, but the plant life, the cloud patterns in the sky, the water on the waterfalls, the bark of trees, it was as if someone took a video in two different kinds of landscapes and just drew CGI characters into the landscapes to blend in. That's how amazing the CGI was as far as the landscapes, and the characters were a lot more lifelike than most CGI characters. They definitely didn't look like DreamWorks and they didn't look like Pixar's. They reminded me a lot of the CGI work with Rango, and Rango is very different from most CGI animated films. It's also got a decent voice cast. I mean, since it's a musical, they had to have people that had pipes on them, like Evan Rachel Wood and the great Alan Cumming, and probably the highlight of the film was a tie between Christian Chenoweth and Maya Rudolph, because those two were flat out hilarious. But the movie itself was like a Baz Luhrmann film for kids. Since the music drives the movie, it doesn't really give the chance for the story to really develop, and it gets all convoluted and lost because of the fact that, oh, here comes another song, let's listen. The music was definitely good choices. I was actually expecting to hear other things that are more popular now, but there was definitely a nice range of songs that have been used throughout the 50s all the way to now. I also found myself laughing a lot. I found some of the comedic moments very, very funny. There was slapstick and there was quick wit, and I give this film even more props because of the fact that the music drove the plot. There were points in time where the movie was drawing to a close where the characters were literally yelling at each other to stop singing. A movie that's okay at best to actually make fun of itself, I give people a lot of credit when it comes to something like that. The reason why this movie is okay at best is just because of the fact that the story was so simple and everybody was just waiting for another song to be belted out of these characters. We kind of get lost, but I tried to follow the plot as best as I could. The plot was simple, but it wasn't terrible either. I mean, the best way to describe it, without giving any spoilers, is there's two kingdoms in a fantasy land. A land of good filled with fairies and elves, and a land known as the Dark Forest filled with goblins and other dark creatures. And on each side of these lands, there is one character that has fallen out of love due to a mishap that ended in heartbreak or sadness for them, and we find that these characters, through some additional trials and tribulations, will end up finding the real meaning of true love. That's the way to describe it. But because of the fact that the music is what drives this film, and when I've talked about certain Baz Luhrmann movies like Moulin Rouge, or even Across the Universe for that matter, when that happens, it takes away so much from the plot points. The characters really didn't need much development, so again, the characters themselves are pretty forgettable at best. So, I'm not saying that Strange Magic should be missed. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go see it in theaters, but from an animation standpoint, it was definitely worth the amount of money that I saw it for. I went to see a matinee showing, so it was very, very inexpensive, so do that if you want to at least witness something beautiful from an animation standpoint in a theater, but if you don't want to, then at least wait for DVD Netflix at best, because the movie is okay. Not terrible, not fantastic, okay. And I'm very glad that I at least got an opportunity to go out and see it, just so I could give my own self closure, and I'm going to give Strange Magic 2 out of 4. If you have seen Strange Magic, throw your comments in the box below and let me know what you think, because I'll say one thing, it was definitely better than Rio 2 from last year. I am the Lawn Gnome. I will see you in the next one, and actions speak louder than words.